And welcome to the Daily Space Weather and Happy Halloween here from the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. We've got some new sunspots at both low and at high latitudes. So new sunspots forming over here. Also one showing up way up here. That's the last 24 hours from SDO, the Solar Dynamics Observatory. Next, we'll break out some composite imagery. This is 131 angstroms plus 193 angstroms. And we do have additional coronal hole area rotating in right down here. It's all North Pole oriented. Here's a sunspot view of the SDO intensity gram. That's yesterday plus today. And on the magnetogram, you'll see this new active region rising up here. It is indeed a sunspot. And seeing sunspots at that high of a latitude indicate that there is a lot of solar cycle to go. Also, interestingly, seeing some sunspots forming close to the equator down here. And let's take a look at volcanoes. But first, do you follow on Twitter? Do you think the censorship is fixed on Twitter? Do you not have a Twitter account? Go create one. You can find links on the homepage at smashomash.com and welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. Other links you may find on the homepage include the link to SureMed. It's the American Better Health Organization, DBA SureMed. It's not insurance, but it allows you to purchase group insurance. Just the doctors by phone, counselors by phone, virtual veterinarians should be sufficient to make a membership more than worthwhile. You'll also get huge discounts at the pharmacy, discounts on vitamins, labs, CT scans, dental, and vision. So check it out if you want to improve your health. So does the American Better Health Organization. Why not become a member of SureMed? Thanks to the Smash team at the Gold and Silver Smash team levels. We put out a post last night only for Gold and Silver Smash team members. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you log in, click on posts, click posts. That will show you the latest posts that you have access to. There is also a bronze level. The best value is the Gold annual paid up subscription, smashomash.com/smash team. We created our own subscription services site because, well, it's got greater capabilities than Patreon, although we still are on Patreon. Another link you'll find there on the Smash team and the homepage is the link to our latest affiliate/sponsor, Hemp Lucid. Save 40% store-wide on the Black Friday sale. They also sell stuff besides CBD products like reishi mushroom products. Again, save 40% site-wide at the Black Friday sale. There are the most popular, again, links on the homepage as well as below the video to our Hemp Lucid shop. You'll also find links to the Smasho merch shop on the homepage and below the video. Today's featured product is... And tell us what you're dressing up as today. Are you dressed as a COVIDiot? Have you dressed up as a COVIDiot for Halloween? Seems like a great costume. Maybe walk around all day in a hazmat suit, wearing a respirator. Today's featured product is a re-release, one of the first ones that we've ever created. No, it's not the Fauci fraud product. It's the Smasher Price My First Pandemic. So offering that in 75 products. The sleeveless top has it in ultra big size, also the chiffon top. Perhaps pick up a mini skirt with Smasher Price My First Pandemic. And congratulations on surviving a global pandemic so far. Again, let us know in the comments what you're dressing up as for Halloween. Remember, folks, HIPAA, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996, did not evaporate in the year 2020. Press like, press subscribe, press share, leave a comment if you enjoy the content. Thanks to everybody who views on YouTube tolerating the pathetic, putrid censorship on the big tech platform. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. Thanks for leaving a comment, Tinman1057. Good morning to you as well. And here we're looking at volcanoes. Shivaluch now back on the list as it explodes and produces a flight level 140. That's a 14,000-foot ash plume, 10,000-foot ash plume over Mount Abico. Mount Ibu exploding as well. Not sure the size of the ash plume. Please don't pole vault the caldera. Headed down to Ecuador, we see Revenador and Sangay exploding. Flight level 170 over Revenador. Flight level 200 over Sangay. And Sabancaya down in Peru also exploding, 22,000-foot ash plume. Flight level 220. Looking at earthquakes. No major quakes over the past 24 hours. The largest quake was this 5.8 in the South Pacific. Quite a few quakes there around the eastern Indian Ocean. There was a 5.3 at Tonga, a 5.2 at Indonesia. South Carolina had a 2.5 magnitude quake. Let us know in the comments if you felt that one. Indonesia also had a 5.0. And this 5.8 came in just a couple hours before we did the video at the West Chile Rise. That came in at 8:14 Universal Time, and let's get back to space. Thanks for stargazing with us here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. That's ionized helium from SDO for the past 24 hours. Again, the most activity we're seeing is certainly up in the northeastern quadrant. Quite bright up there in this wavelength. And the 10.7 centimeter radial flux has actually dropped. So we've seen that come down to 131 solar flux units. There's the 1-year graph of the radial flux. To put that in context for you, the black line is the radial flux. The red line is the sunspot number. Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard continuing to forecast geomagnetic unrest into All Souls Day. Because this is Halloween. This is All Saints Day. And November 2nd is All Souls Day. Yes, All Souls Day. A Protestant holiday created in response to the Catholic holiday created in response to the pagan holiday. Yes. Halloween, then All Saints Day, then All Souls Day. Yes, everybody's answering to each other. Anyway, that's the situation. Geomagnetic unrest forecasted into early morning on November 2nd. NOAA's expecting the coronal hole high-speed wind stream to continue. Of course, we are expecting a second pulse from that near equatorial coronal hole. We'll get to it. Here's the last 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from space. Pretty steady magnetohydrodynamic pressure here for the past 4 hours. Magnetohydrodynamic pressure here modeled in nanopascals. Here's Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. Again, the last 4 hours there. Magnetic flux density is the unit that is portrayed. Magnetic flux density known as nanotesla. Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. Planetary K index at 3. It's at 2.67 to be exact. Let's round that to 3. KP3 is the current situation for global geomagnetism. And let's see what's going on at Lagrange point 1, where the ACE and Discover make their measurements. Current conditions are about 6.7 protons per cubic centimeter for the solar wind density. Solar wind speed, 478 kilometers per second. There are your GOES magnetometers. It looks like the GOES, that must be the GOES 16, had to make a maneuver there, hence the arc jet moment. The thrusters produce plasma that can mess with the readings. So surprisingly smooth here. The coronal hole wind stream that we saw from this series of coronal holes is pretty weak. Next, looking at the heliospheric current sheet. We're expecting a South Pole current sheet to be much closer than this by now. Perhaps an indication that we're going to see some South Pole-oriented sunspots. So we do see one near the equator. Look at the South Pole current sheet receding there. So that was unexpected, which means my forecast is that those sunspots around the equator will grow, will show in a moment. Next, the solar line of sight plot. Sun's B field in blue. Solar polar field of North Pole in green. South solar polar field in red. And now let's move to coronal holes. So we've got a trans-equatorial coronal hole here rotating in. It is of North Pole orientation. Most of the north solar polar field pointed at the Earth at the moment here. Part of it rotating out toward the west. Part of it still fixated at the north heliographic pole. And here you'll be able to see that pretty well in 211 angstroms. That's North Pole, North Pole, North Pole, North Pole, and North Pole. So lots of radio jets pointed toward the Earth here at the moment. We can expect a high-speed wind stream from this one at about 3.5 days. Moving to sunspots. Again, we've got some new groups. We've got a group right here very close to the equator, as well as a new one up here. So we're expecting at least two named groups there, 3136 and 3137 up here in the northeast. Here you'll be able to see that rise in the SDO magnetogram. That is the past 24 hours. Here's a closer view. Again, very interesting seeing these near equatorial sunspots at the same time as very high latitude sunspots. Those high latitude sunspots are an indication that there's a long way to go with solar cycle 25. Also, the field migration taking its good old time, leaving the north solar heliographic pole. Continuing on to energetic particles, we don't see any proton spikes. Solar flare activity has been minor for the past 24 hours here. Only a minor C1.4 class flare. And it must have come from this area right here. The intermediate sunspot groups there, portrayed in 94 angstroms from SDO. Next, a star chart. And this is what's going on over our heads in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Mars high in the sky. The blue line is the galactic plane. The yellow line is the ecliptic. And let's continue on to do a solar system forecast. We've got Mercury swinging around to blow past Venus on the opposite side. Let's advance this 1 week. Here's where things will be in a week. It looks like we'll have a full moon on November 7th. And let's look at some coronagraphs here. Let's see if we've got today's imagery. Nope. Just yesterday's imagery. What the heck? Why is it so few frames? Only 16 frames from yesterday. Let's take a look at the viewpoint from stereo A at Lagrange 5 and the Soho Lasco C3 at Lagrange 1. So no earthly directed CMEs in the past 24 hours for sure. We've got Mercury and Venus on the Soho Lasco C3 and Mercury here on stereo A. Continuing on to our custom videos. Here's the past 24 in composite. Soho Lasco C2 and C3 and 304 angstroms SDO. How about a little closer view? let's move on as we are running late. Let's load the latest on this. The ground-based solar observatory at El Teide, Spain, showing hydrogen alpha. And massive number of filaments here on the Earth-facing portion of the solar disk. See all these dark regions? Those are a ton of filaments. Filaments, filaments, filaments all over the Earth-facing portion of the sun. Likelihood of coronal mass ejections nearly 100% in this sort of environment. Next, the last couple of hours from the GOES 16 SUVI. Still a prominence there in the northeast. And here's the last 24 hours in composite, 1700 plus 335 angstroms from SDO. Moving right along to bonus features, we've got some significant charging hazards here. Internal charging hazards over the Indian Ocean, Africa, and Oceania, and the West Pacific. Surface charging here moving into the East Pacific, out of Mexico. High levels of electron flux we're seeing. Those are the measurements by the GOES 16 and GOES 17. They're using radiography to measure it from their geosynchronous orbits. And there's the NOAA forecast, hitting right on today. No argument from me there. NOAA expecting even higher levels in the next 24 hours. There is the one-year chart to put it in context. And next we'll show the F ionosphere layer, one slice of the atmosphere located at about 300 kilometers of altitude. There you have it in vibrational frequency. Here's the anomalygram showing anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median. Some significant low-frequency anomalies there over the central Atlantic Ocean, for example. And there's the latest image, 10:30 Universal Time, ionogram and anomalygram. We'll also show the total electron content forecast. Huge GPS errors continue over North America. If you're using a GPS today, especially after sunup, expect large errors. Turn on your Wi-Fi accuracy to help mitigate those. IP addresses tell your device the proximity, and they'll improve your navigation above and beyond what you'll get with only a GPS signal. Total electron content forecast is depicting the electrons in between the inner Van Allen belt, the inner portion of the outer Van Allen belt, rather, and your handset. That's about 12,500 miles, 12,500 miles of altitude. Let's take a look at the latest intensitygram and colorized magnetogram. Again, new sunspot up here. It's at a very high latitude. Also a new sunspot here near the equator. So probably going to have at least two more named groups, folks. There you go. And let's put up one more series of images from SDO to close out the space weather section before moving into the meteorology section. That's yesterday plus today from SDO. Ionized helium plus 2 species of ionized iron. Great view of coronal holes, active regions, and the corona. And let's take a look at ocean currents. Well, the Gulf Stream hasn't shut down yet, folks. It's still making it up to Ireland and Iceland. As you can see in this imagery here, showing ocean currents. Yes, ocean currents. And let's switch to meteorology here. It's time to look at the surface winds of the eastern world. There you have them. How about the jet streams? There are those. Jet streams of the Americas, aka the West, looking like this. Surface winds depicted thusly. Surface winds of the central world. There you have it. And the jet streams. There you have those. Next, looking at a water vapor map here to see some significant thunderstorm activity over this portion of South America. There is a strong low here, loitering north of Bermuda. Not going to do very much. It's getting cold out there in the Atlantic Ocean. Next, your weather.gov map. If your county's lit, click your county on weather.gov, weather.gov. Some strong winds on the California coast. And let's do some forecasts. So here comes the snow. The snow is coming. There's going to be some heavy snow in California. Also the northern Rockies. Montana's going to get some very heavy snow once again. That's your pressure and precipitation forecast based on the GFS model for the next 72 hours. And let's take a look at snowfall expectations. Here's a GFS model for total accumulated snow depth change. Accumulated positive snow depth change, rather. Totals are shown here in inches. And expecting up to like 10 plus inches there in portions of California. In fact, looks like over a foot of snow forecasted for a large area there. Again, that's your GFS model for accumulated positive snow depth change in inches. And let's take a look at the Euro model. Here's a Euro model for the next 3 days. Looking like it's expecting a little bit lower snowfall totals in places like California. We'll have to stay tuned to see which model was right. And here's your NASA GOES lightning mapper. Again, some heavy thunderstorms here over south central South America. Let's check terrestrial strikes here. None in the U.S. at the moment. So let's move right along to the U.S. Doppler radar map. There you have the full 50 state view. Here is the lower 48 view. Here is your shortwave radiation showing clouds and fog. Again, there's a low here hanging out north of Bermuda. And it looks like it's weakening a little bit. It is encased in dry, massive air. There's your water vapor map. That'll close things out. Let's do a recap. Once again, happy Halloween, viewers. That's your Halloween U.S. Doppler radar. There is your shortwave radiation showing clouds and fog. And there is the water vapor. That's where we will shut it down. Thanks for tuning into the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash, signing off. And may that solar wind be at your back.